Welcome back, folks. This is PSN, and I'm your host, as always, Artie Decker. And we're going to take a look at week 4 here. I mean, it didn't seem like yesterday we kicked this thing off, and now here we are almost to the halfway point. A lot of key region battles going on this week. Some of those battles that you might not think much of right now, but they're really going to count come, week 9, week 8, when we're getting down to the nitty gritty, so to speak. But let's just jump into some games this week. We've got North Jackson at Sardis. This should be an interesting game. You got Sardis coming off a win over Geraldine. North Jackson, on the other hand, coming off a loss versus Madison County. And for the most part, the Chiefs are really struggling. I mean, compared to what they have been in the past, what they're used to. Maybe a little bit of a rebuilding year for them. And Gaskin is back. He's coming off a 7 touchdown game versus Geraldine, as we said, and uh, they're really playing well. He really put on a show, and I like Sardis to get this region win and get them going back in the right direction. They kind of stumbled out the gates. They lost 2 tough ones to Plainview and Sylvania, but there's no shame in that. But I think they had higher expectations, but injuries have hurt them, and so now it's when it really counts. And if he can get healthy and stay healthy, they should definitely be a playoff team as the season goes on. We've got looking here to 7A. You got Bob Jones at Huntsville. Uh, Bob Jones coming off a big win over Sparkman. This is another one of those region tilts, and you got Bob Jones at Huntsville. On the other hand, they hadn't played really well, and I don't expect them to do it this week either. Bob Jones should get that win. Same way here, you got Buckhorn rolling into Husky Stadium. Hewitt Trustful's playing phenomenal right now, and Buckhorn's just probably going to be in for a very long night. You got Grissom rolling into Gaston City. Gaston City finally gets that first win last week. They're excited, and this is another team that they can beat if they play like they can. Grissom, don't get me wrong, has been playing some really good ball. They're not a gimme, but Gaston City should take care of them. But I'm going to go ahead and tell you, I think this might be a little bit closer than most people think. Um, we got Spain Park rolling into Mountain Brook. Mountain Brook played Hoover pretty tough about 2 weeks ago. So, I mean, they're no slouch. And then you got Spain Park, who got their heart broke by Hoover in that 27-24 loss last week. Still have not turned the ball over all season long. But, nevertheless, lost that game. Braxton Barker playing phenomenal. Um, this is one of those type of games, though. Can you get back up, or is it going to be the hangover effect? And they better be careful rolling into Mountain Brook. But I'm going to say that, they get it together and get the win. But it'd be pretty close. We got Sparkman. Coach White finally got his first loss last week to Bob Jones, and they roll into the Jets of James Clemens. And um, James Clemens coming off a tough loss to Gaston City, so they desperately need a win in region. And Sparkman, like I say, playing some really good ball. Um, I'm going to have to go with Coach White and the Senators, though. I like this Sparkman team, and I think they're going to make some noise, or at least make it difficult for some of these bigger teams in that region. You got Thompson at Oak Mountain. I believe this game is actually regionally telecast. You have Tagliova, the little brother of the backup quarterback at Alabama. The kid can flat out play. I mean, the numbers show it. They're coming off to some, I guess, a shocking win over Vestavia, but to me, it was a statement win. They people had just kind of, I heard a lot of people say, well, why in the world is Thompson the top 5 team, and they didn't understand it. But that kid is the difference to what they had last year. I mean, he brings a whole new energy to that group and makes them very difficult, and just makes them a very different group of as Thompson has just improved week in week out. It seems. I mean, you saw a lot of improvement just by getting the coach they had last year from Spanish Fort. I mean, obviously the guy knows how to coach, having all the success he's had with the Toros. Looking onward though, you got I guess Tuscaloosa County and Hoover. Tuscaloosa County, not a whole lot of success, and I mean, the only thing maybe that they have going for them is the fact maybe Hoover coming off the emotional win, maybe they're a little worn out, but I don't think they're going to be that worn out. You got Shredrick Jackson coming up with a big play last week to help them win the ball game, and you know he's the great nephew of the great Bo Jackson. So I mean, obviously the kid very athletic. And looking on to 6A, though, we have BC Rain rolling into Blunt. Blunt's trying to come back off of a shocking defeat last week to Saraland, 42-14. I really did not see that coming. Blunt had some big plans to go far, far in the playoffs, but it just didn't quite work out for them last week anyway. You got Columbia rolling into the number one Austin Black Bears, and Columbia, they just cannot get out of their own way, and Austin is playing awesome, and the Black Bears should roll in that one. You got Fort Payne rolling into Coleman. Okay, this is a game I've heard a lot of people around here. They have the thought process that Fort Payne is playing some great ball and all this other stuff, but I want to point out the fact that we thought the Aggies were playing some great ball when they went down to Coleman, and they didn't come out with such a good result. I believe somewhere in the ballpark of 42-14 thereabouts. So I mean, the Cats have a tough task in front of them, and the pinholster kid, he's scoring every which way he can. Ellis at quarterback playing really well. I mean, they're on the rise. Don't get me wrong, and they're playing great compared to last year. But this Coleman team's too strong. I got to go with Coleman. But I don't think it. I'm thinking it could be a little bit closer than what the Abbeville game was. But I still like Coleman to win. We've got Hartselle rolling into Muscle Shoals. Muscle Shoals playing some great ball. Hartselle coming off kind of a shocking loss last week. Uh, Maybe looking ahead, possibly. I don't know. We'll give them the benefit of the doubt, maybe. But I like Muscle Shoals to go ahead and get that region win. Roll on. Next up, you got Jasper rolling into number 2 now, Pinson Valley. Poor Jasper, they're not a bad team, but they're not up to the caliber of Pinson Valley. This should get ugly pretty quick. Um, Looking here, we have Oxford rolling into Abbeville. Early in the season, before the season started, this matchup looked big. It looked like potentially your region title game, but now, no, not really. This could get ugly pretty quick. Oxford's really good, probably head and shoulders better than the Aggies. Dale Pruitt and company better be ready and have a great game plan if we're going to make this thing competitive. Um, we've got Looks like let's just roll to 5A. Got Alexandria, the Valley Cubs rolling into Etowah. Big game, region wise. Both teams were probably, I guess, sort of your preseason favorites at the top of that region. Um, last week we picked Etowah. A lot of people thought we were crazy. Everybody's like, oh, it's at Gunnersville. They're not going to win. All this other stuff. Quarterback play's not good enough. Well, it turned out to be the quarterback was the reason they won the ball game. So, there. Um, Once again this week, if I'm not mistaken, Alexandria's another favorite coming into this thing. I'm just not sold on them really. They're number 3, but they really haven't beaten anybody or played anybody that is really noteworthy. So I don't know if they're prepared for this, and plus it being in Etowah could make a big difference. I like the 2-headed monster the Blue Devils have, and hopefully the quarterback will play uh, well enough to get them the win. So we're gonna go Etowah. We're gonna go upset once again, and Etowah will take a huge step in becoming possibly your region winner if they can get this win. Looking here, we have Arab rolling into Boaz. This is misery loves company basically. Boaz with the 1 win, and Arab just not even coming close. They they played pretty decent last week. I mean, they did lose to Crossville 34-25. I believe that's the closest game they've had all season, though. So, there's improvement if you want to grasp at straws. Um, Boaz just, they got mauled last week. I got to go with Arab though. I think they're going to finally get their first win, but it's going to be a tight one, but I do believe they should get the W. Um, Looking down the list here, we have Crossville. The It Kids this year. Everybody's Cinderella out of nowhere team. It's not that big a shock. They really made some big steps last year. I know they lost the Pointer kid, the quarterback they had last year, but this Blanton Jones kid he may be better than Pointer. I mean, he is so versatile, running the ball, throwing the ball. I believe 200 something yards last week total offense. And poor old Douglas. Douglas just they can't get anything going really, and Crossville ain't going to be the answer to that. And this should be a good week for Crossville to maybe get healthy going forward, as they should win big. Looking here, we have Gunnersville trying to bounce back after the loss to Etowah, and Scottsboro, on the other hand, just trying to find maybe a region win somewhere. But it ain't going to be this week. I think Gunnersville's going to bounce back. Um, Potentially in a blowout. It wouldn't surprise me if this was semi-tight because I feel like that Scottsboro team gets better every week. But you know, who knows? But we got looking down here. Looks like we're gonna roll into 4A. We have Jackson. That was the team last week. They pulled the big upset over Holtz Bluff, so they got a ton of momentum. And on the other hand, they're you got Anniston. Anniston coming off a tough loss to a good Cherokee County team. A lot of people have picked Aniston in this one. It's kind of surprising to me, but I'm going to go with Jacksonville. I mean, you beat a really good Hope Bluff team. You should be able to beat Aniston, in my eyes, anyway. You got Leeds rolling into Hanley, the Green Wave. I believe is number 2 this week, and Hanley, they might be defending champions, but they're really struggling right now. And Coach Strain just looking for answers at this point. And it ain't going to be the Green Wave. This should be a blowout as well. We're looking at Madison County rolling into Randolph. Randolph kind of got brought down to earth last week as they lost to the Mustangs of Madison Academy. Um, Madison County playing some really good ball, coming off a win over North Jackson. We're going to go with Madison County, although Randolph might make it interesting. We got Aniana rolling into that same Cherokee County. Cherokee County's not going to show any mercy. Aniana's just trying to find it as the season goes on, and they ain't going to be this week. We've got. This is an interesting matchup to me. I mean, you might look at it on paper and say, you are out of your mind if you think this is going to be close. But I'm telling you, the Mustangs ain't playing that great. I mean, they're playing good enough, but they ain't playing great. And you got Westminster, who's red hot, playing with a ton of confidence, and they're looking for that big statement win. And you might say, well, are you saying that this is going to be an upset? No, I wouldn't go that far. But I will say this is going to be closer than you think, but the Mustangs get the win. We've got White Plains rolling into that Holtz Bluff coming off the upset. I wouldn't want to be White Plains this week. The Eagles and Darian Meads and Landon Johnson, them boys, they're probably going to light it up this week. We got looking here to 3A. These are the two most interesting matchups for me. You got Geraldine rolling into Plainview. Plainview playing some really good ball, coming off a beatdown win over Pisgah. You got Geraldine coming off a loss to a really good Sardis team. So I mean, they're prepared as far as what they're going to see, but Geraldine's got a lot of issues on defense, and Plainview has got a lot of weapons on offense, and that's not a very good combination if you're a Geraldine Bulldog. A lot of people think this could be close. I'm not in that boat. I think it could be close till about halftime, but overall, this could be ugly when it's all said and done. I like the Bears to win big, and plus, also, this is a big matchup because you have two of the top teams from last year Geraldine hadn't had a loss in region yet, so if they can somehow, some way pull this off, they would be in the driver's seat as to where Plainview could, throw them in the back seat, if you will. You got, let's see, looking down, we have North Sand. They're coming off a win. It's not a big win, but it was a positive win uh, for the Bison, and then as they beat Brindley 39-6. And then on the other hand, you got Sylvania coming off a really impressive win over Cedar Bluff. Um, the thing about this game is I've kind of got a little inside information. I've heard that the Shavers kid actually is a little dinged up. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see if he's not healthy. Normally I would say the Rams would be the favorite in this thing, but if he's not healthy, and on the other hand, or on the other side of the ball, if Poor can get back in there for the Bison and be the beast that he is on defense and control that thing and get them playing well, um, it's going to be interesting to see if they can get it back to what they have in the past, playing that kind of defense that made them very formidable last year. But the quarterback for Sylvania, he's played really well, but he's done enough, I guess you could say. So it's going to be interesting to see if the Shavers kid is not healthy, can that kid step up and make it happen? And on the Bison end of things, they're in a situation where if they lose, their hopes of winning this region for the first time ever are just up in smoke. On the other hand, if Sylvania loses, they're going to be behind Plainview, and they don't want that. But overall, I think this thing's going to be a little bit closer than people think, but I'm going to have to go with the Rams to win it. Looking here, we have Pisgah rolling into Brindley Mountain. A lot of people think this game's going to be close. I think Brindley's improved. Pisgah not playing so hot, but I like Pisgah to get the win in probably a pretty convincing fashion. We got Randolph County rolling into Glencoe. Glencoe thought they were ready for the big boys, and then played Piedmont, and that didn't go out so well for them. And then Randolph, on the other hand, led Piedmont last week. They've proven they are legitimate, and it could be a long night for the Yellow Jackets because I believe Randolph should get this win pretty easily. Looking down, we have. I know a lot of us don't think much about this matchup, but down south, this is huge. You got T.R. Miller rolling into Mobile Christian. Mobile Christian being number one, T.R. Miller being number, I believe, number 3 or 4 in their classification. So, I mean, this is a huge matchup, but I'm not really sold on Mobile Christian, so don't be surprised if T.R. Miller doesn't pull the upset. We got Weaver rolling into Ohatchee. Ohatchee, as we've said, we're not real confident in them. The one game they played that would be difficult for them, they didn't show themselves so well. And Weaver is not a bad team at all, and it would not surprise me at all if Weaver to win in this one. You have looking to 2A. You got Asbury rolling into Collinsville. Poor Asbury, they're struggling. They're trying to build, and it's just a rough road for them. And Collinsville's coming off a very big win over Gaston, 41-0, where a lot of those young kids really matured. If they can continue to progress, just like in this game, they should get the win, and it'll be another opportunity to see these kids get some confidence about them and learn some things. And it could be a big stepping stone game for Collinsville, as they should win big. We've got looking down the list here, we have Elba rolling to Goshen. This is a big game down south also because this is an Elba team that's trying to, they wasn't that great last year. They obviously were a winning team, but they are just not quite up to their standards that they've had in the past. And to me, from what I've read, they seem like they might be back a little bit more so to the years of going to back-to-back state championship games rather than going out early in I believe, the second round last year. So, and Goshen is undefeated to my knowledge, and so this should be a great matchup. But I would probably go with Elba as well. You got Fife rolling into Eider. Eider's playing some really good ball. They led Sandrock for the majority of that game last week, but Sandrock was able to pull it out. This game will probably be fairly close at halftime, but I look for Fife to pull away in the second half and win big. Um, obviously, if Ider could get the win, that would be huge, but I just wouldn't hold my breath to see that happen. You got that this Lynette team once again, I believe, got another first place vote this week in the 2A rankings, and they roll into Reeltown. Reeltown just really struggling, and I look for Lynette to win big as well. Um, we got Sandrock rolling in the Gaston. Coach Morris and company, they just point blank said this is a rebuilding year for them, and it's going to be one of those black eyes in his career. It looks like. And Sandrock coming off a good win over Ider. They just need to go in there and take care of business on the ridge, and I do believe they will, in probably convincing fashion. You got Section rolling into Westbrook. This is one of those hot topic kind of games. You got Westbrook. Start of the season, you'd look at this game and think, well, Westbrook will probably blow them out. Aston Ponder's going to play well. All this other stuff. Honestly, the offense really hasn't played that well, and they kind of banked on them playing well. They only scored 3 against Sandrock and 6 against Fife last week, and I believe it was late against maybe third string or whatever. So they're having trouble scoring points, and then you got Section who is just nasty on defense. I mean, just nasty. I believe he's only given up 6 points all season. I mean, granted, it's against lesser competition, but still, this will be their first test, and I believe they're going to be hungry to prove that they are legit. And I like them to actually go down to Rainbow City and get a statement win that could, you know, pretty much lock them into a playoff spot potentially. I mean, it pretty much puts them on the cusp if they could get the win. So we're going to say upset on that one. Another stat about them, I believe they've got 6 interceptions this year on defense. Section just really playing some ball. Luke Powell doing a phenomenal job with them. We've got, let's see, looking to 1A. Addison and Lynn kind of sticks out to me. Lynn's a pretty decent team. Addison's on a roll. Maybe first good test for Addison, but I do like them to get the W. Looking on down here, we have Meat rolling into Gillsville. Gillsville's probably going to take a beating. Gillsville's just not very good. Um, Looking down the list, we have this is an interesting game. I mean, if you follow 1A football, this would be one of them that you'd want to go to. You got Raglan coming off to me, a very impressive win over a decent little Coosa Christian team last week. I believe it was 67-25, and not the fact they won the game, but just the fact of the margin at which they won. And then they're rolling into Wadley. Wadley, year in, year out, is great. They have great running backs, always athletic, all the way across the board. Probably going to be a little too much for Raglan, but it'd be interesting to see if Raglan can hang with them. If Raglan is truly back like they think they are, they should be competitive in this one. Looking down, we have Valley Head rolling in Spring Garden. This is a big region matchup. Coach Knapp and company, they're just looking to build this thing piece by piece, week by week. Got their first win last week over ASD 33-20. I believe it was homecoming. Feeling good about themselves. But they got rid of the Ivy kid last year. Well, his little brother's quarterback this year. He's pretty good from what I've heard. They have a running back, Smith. He's pretty good. This is not a real big team, but they're quick. And I mean, you look at it on paper, and Valley Head's offensive line and defensive line should be able to control the game. But I like the speed of the Panthers. I like the experience of the Panthers. They're used to winning. They know how to win, and Coach Howard always does a phenomenal job with them. And I like the Panthers to go ahead and get this win, but it could be closer than you think. We have Woodville rolling into Cedar Bluff. Woodville took a beating last week from Spring Garden, and then now they got to go to Cedar Bluff. Cedar Bluff coming off just a whooping of, I believe, Gillsville. and so I mean they're feeling pretty good about themselves. And in Woodville, like I say, I don't like their chances at all. I think this could be another blowout loss for them as Cedar Bluff should roll. Looking on down the list here, we have, I guess that pretty much runs us out on that. So let's just take a quick look at the rankings this week. We got Phoenix City still holding strong at number one, but Hoover picked up some first place votes with six this week, and they're nipping at their heels, I guess you could say, only about 50 votes behind. As we spoke of earlier, the Flying Hawaiian got his Thompson team with the first place vote this week. The Huskies, Paul Tyson playing really well. Um, got them rolling. They got them a first place vote this week. So that's a really interesting race in 7A to me anyway. And then once again, Braxton Barker and his Jaguars they're lurking at number six. Um, Oak Mountain once again, sneaky little team. They're at number 11. They're looking to knock off those Jaguars and get in the top 10 this week. Mountain Brook playing some good ball too. They're at 13. Bob Jones at 12. As we said earlier, Coach White playing pretty well at 2-1. They're about 15. In 6A, Benson Valley up another spot to number 2, taking over where Blunt got whooped last week. So they slowly crept up the board, and they got 4 first place votes. As we said earlier, also Oxford really playing well. Could be a lone out for the Aggies. They got 2 first place votes this week as well at number 3. Austin holds strong at number 1. You got the Toros at number 7, Daphne at 8, and Blunt falling, tumbling to number 9. And Saraland on the outside looking in at number 11 after their big win. And then Muscle Shoals, I think, is a little underrated at 13. Um, Chalkboard at about 16. Looking at 5A, you got Briarwood still holding strong at number 1. St. Paul's nipping at their heels at number 2. Alexandria, like I say, I think they may go tumbling this week at number 3. May Jemison playing some good ball at number 6. You got the usual suspects there, Jackson at number 7. You got St. Clair County and the Edge there. I think they're a little bit of a surprise to some, as the Saints are number 10. You got Boaz actually getting some votes, which is a little surprising. They're at about 14. You got Etowah. Like I say, I don't know why people don't see it, but I think Etowah's a little bit better than you think they are. They're at 16. You got this wonderful story of the Lions. They're at about 18. And if they continue to win, they might crack the top 10 as well. Looking to 4A, you got the Green Wave. I'm sorry, they're your new number 1 this week. So, yeah, that's even worse for Henley. And as we said earlier, you got Yummus Wright taking on the 3A number 1 Mobile Christian this week. And they also have a first place vote. The Rogers Pirates, they're with 5 first place votes. Andalusia nipping it Leeds heels as they move up as well with 6. You got Deschler, who's kind of come out of nowhere this year. They're at number 8. You got Hopes Bluff tumbling down to number 10 as they took that shocking loss to Jackson. You got Madison County at number 12, but I think they're a little underrated. They got those kids that are heading to SEC schools. I mean, that's a lot of talent right there, and you better be ready to watch out for them. You got Madison Academy in a weird position at number 16 and also being 1 and 2, but they're trying to get back on track. As we said earlier, Mobile Christian with a big test this week. They potentially could go tumbling, and Piedmont could take over that number 1. Uh, Piedmont does have 8 first place votes this week, so I think that's up from last week, if I'm not mistaken. Gordo hanging in there at number 3. You got Weaver at number 5. You got Tara Miller at 6. Oh, I'm actually I'm gonna correct that. Mobile Christian's playing T.R. Miller, and that is number 1 versus number 6. So that's a big matchup. T.R. Miller could move up quickly if they could get that win. Randolph County looking to get another W and move up the board. I really don't understand this Ohatchee team at number 8 as they play number 5 Weaver. They should go tumbling after this week. You got one of the newly ranked teams, being Coach Goodwin and his Bears at number 9, and they're looking to get another win and keep on rising as well, especially if Ohatchee goes down. Um, you got Fultondale there at number 12. Uh, Colbert County at about 15. They've been playing pretty well. You got the Rams there at 17. So if they keep winning, they'll join the Bears eventually. We got 2A, obviously, five still number 1. Lynette gaining another first place vote, though, and that gets them to 3 uh, votes. You got Leroy, a little bit of a surprise. Leroy hadn't been in this position in quite a while, and they're number 3. Yeah, Aliceville coming off that runner-up last year. They're at 4. They're a solid little team. As we said earlier, Elba's trying to get back. They're at 5. Lafayette, rather, I'm not really sold on them. I don't know. Maybe they're number 6. Maybe they're not. I don't know. But as we said earlier, you get that 5 versus 7 because you got Elba and Goshen. That's also a big region matchup. So that's a huge game for them. St. Luke's, they're an interesting story. Not really a perennial winner is their number 10. We got Sandrock at 13. You got Tanner after losing last week. They needed an off week. They lost to Winston County that snapped their 54 game region winning streak. I mean, the sky is falling in the Rattlers' house right now, and they are at 14 this week. And as we talked about earlier, you got section at 16 looking to make a statement. If they get this win, it could definitely give them some votes and possibly creep them in the top 10. You got number 1, Maplesville, just beating everybody like they stole something. And obviously, number 1 in all categories, I believe there are 129 votes in number 1, which is extremely impressive. Pickens County holding strong at number 2, Brantley at 3, Sweetwater 4. Nothing really changed, obviously, this week. As we talked about earlier, that good little Wadley team at number 11. We have Notice Oaks a little bit better than you think they are. I know they took some early losses, but they've lost some really good teams. I believe number 2 in 1A, or excuse me, number 2 in 2A, and number 1 in 1A is their 2 losses. So don't sleep on them. You got Cedar Bluff at number, we're going to call it 15. You got Spring Garden there at about 17 at 2 and 1. So that pretty much wraps that up. Quickly, we'll give out our team of the week, the Jacksonville Eagles. They got the big win, or upset win, over Hope Bluff. I believe Hope Bluff was ranked number 6, and I believe, not positive, I think that was at Hope Bluff. So that was a huge, huge win for Jacksonville, and they're a sneaky little team down that way. But congratulations to them in their 28-27 upset win. That pretty much wraps us up. As we talked about, a lot of big games tonight as far as playoff positioning and just kind of seeing how everything begins to take form. Good luck to everybody, and everybody be safe. Have a great night, great weekend, and just enjoy everything. And just save us a spot on the fence, and we'll be back with you next week. Good Lord willing.